Evening, if you turn on your mics. Good evening. We will get started. This is the February 27th, 2024 Daytona Beach Shores Council meeting, Commission meeting. Sherry, can you call the meeting to order, please?
Mayor Miller?
Here.
Vice Mayor Place?
Here.
Commissioner Card?
Here.
Commissioner Cosmos?
Here.
Commissioner Dembinski?
Here.
Yes, thank you. Is Reverend Bob here? Oh, I didn't see you. We had so many people. Thank you so much. This is Reverend Bob Kempbeard from the Drive-In Christian Church. Pleasure to have you this evening.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here. I invite you, as you're able, to stand for this invocation. Lord of all creation, we gather on this beautiful day, thankful for life and for the beauty of your creation that surrounds us, for the opportunity to come together for the good of community, and to express care and concern for our city and neighbors. Send your care and wisdom to rest upon us, inspire our conscious action, and direct the work of our leaders and elected officials in positive ways. Protect the staff and safety personnel in the work they accomplish on our behalf, and bring forth from us the respect and appreciation they deserve. As we welcome folks in the coming week to Bike Week, to our city and to the surrounding area, may they arrive safely, spend their time doing the things that they've been looking forward to doing for a long time now, and may they receive the hospitality that we have prepared for them. In all these things, we ask your blessing, and we seek your guidance and wisdom. We pray these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I had my phone shut off. Good evening, everyone. We will get started. We do not have any presentations this evening, so we'll move right on to the approval of City Commission meetings from February 13th, 2024. Do I hear a motion to accept those meetings?
I so move. I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on any of the items from that meeting? Hearing none. Sherry, would you please take a roll?
Vice Mayor Place?
Yes.
Commissioner Cosmos?
Yes.
Commissioner Card?
Yes.
Commissioner Dembinski?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. We have 6 items on there. Do I hear a motion to approve all 6 items without pulling any?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Second?
I second.
Thank you. Any comments on any of those? Sherry, take a roll, please.
Commissioner Dembinski?
Yes.
Commissioner Card?
Yes.
Commissioner Cosmos?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Place?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. Okay, moving on to old business, we had the privilege last meeting of voting on an annexation into the shores, and this was at 3215 La Palma. Attorney Waters, can you read that for us, please?
Certainly, Madam Mayor. This is item number 8A, ordinance number 2024-05. An ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Volusia County, Florida, relating to voluntary annexation of real property located at 3215 La Paloma Avenue, short parcel identification number 5335-01-05-0240, together with associated right-of-ways in accordance with Section 171.044 Florida statutes, providing for legislative and administrative findings, redefining the boundaries of the city, providing for legal, effective, and implementing administrative actions, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, and setting an effective date.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, before we move on with the motion, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak about the property at 3215 La Paloma Avenue? Okay, seeing no, Stuart, would you like to come up and, no? Okay. Do I hear a motion to accept ordinance 2024-05?
I so move.
Second?
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, any questions that we have for our community service director on this project? Okay, seeing none, Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Vice Mayor Gladys,
Yes.
Commissioner Cummings,
Yes.
Commissioner Todd,
Yes.
Commissioner Dubinsky,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, thank you. Okay, now we'll move on to new business. The first item is ordinance 2024-02, a request by B&Y. Attorney Waters, can you read that for us, please?
Certainly, this is item number 9A, ordinance number 2024-02, an ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Florida, vacating and abandoning a portion of .018 acres of the Frail Street Alley per plat right-of-way, 20 feet in width, as shown on the plat of Kichi subdivision, as recorded in map book 9, page 261, and Armstrong subdivision, as recorded in map 9, page 280, all of the public records of Volusia County, Florida, providing for conditions and the taking of implementing administrative actions, providing for legislative findings and intent, repealing all conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Attorney. Do you have something for us this evening?
Yes, certainly. Madam Mayor, thank you. Vice Mayor and Commissioners, sorry. I apologize. For the record, my name is Stuart Cruz, Community Services Director.
Okay, no, you can't hear in the back. Before he gets started, can you hear everyone on the dais? I know some problems. Great.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For the record, my name is Stuart Cruz, Community Services Director with the City of Daytona Beach Shores. Vice Mayor, Commissioners, this particular ordinance 2024-02 is a request for a partial right-of-way vacation of Frail Street as requested by BNY Incorporated and Jody Tomlinson as the applicants. So Frail Street is 488 feet long. It's about 20 feet wide in most areas. And the particular request before you tonight is for a vacation of approximately 273 feet of this right-of-way. The location or the general vicinity is in the 2000 block of Frail Street. And as I mentioned, there are two applicants for this, but the primary applicant is BNY Incorporated. And the purpose would be to accommodate the development of two underutilized parcels, both on the east and the west side of Frail Street. And I'll show you a depiction of this in a minute. So if these two parcels were to be developed as proposed by the developer and property owner, it would not satisfy the requirements of the city's land development code and hence the request for the vacation. So the highlights of this particular ordinance include a perpetual easement, access easement to the public. So when the right-of-way is vacated, the public still needs to have access to basically traverse that general vicinity, and I'll show you a good depiction of that. So the first thing is that there would be a grant of a perpetual 20-foot public access easement to the public. Next would be a grant of a utility easement over the entire portion of the vacated area, and then in addition to that, there would also be a dedication of 5 paved off-street parking spaces along Butterfur Avenue just north of the development. The vacation does not become effective until all the conditions that I just mentioned to you before have been satisfied and until the CO for this development has been issued for the redevelopment. Additionally, the redevelopment plan will cause the removal of the existing beach concession vehicle parking on the western portion of the, in the southwestern portion of the parcel, and I'll show you that in a minute as well. So this is a street view looking south on Frail Street. You'll see to the left the BNY property to the east, and then on the right-hand side you'll see the BNY property to the west. So just as a general indicator or landmark, Bahama House, if you were to go 1 block west of that, along across east, 1 block west of Atlantic Avenue and Bahama House, I believe you would get to Frail Street. And so Frail Street actually goes from Butterfur down to Park Avenue, but in this particular request, the vacation basically runs from Butterford down to just about Armstrong Street. And I'll show you this a little bit more clearly in a second. So this is a zoom in, and here you can see the BNY property to the east and to the west. This property right here is Jody Thomason's property. And that's part of the reasons why she's the applicant as well, the co-applicant in this application, and I'll show you. So this is the general area or shape of the vacation that would occur. And if you look at the BNY property to the east and the west after the vacation, this is essentially what the properties will look like. So the proposed development, as I mentioned earlier, would contain 5 off-beach parking spaces. It would also include an expansion of the existing footprint for the building on the property or the parcel to the east. On the west side, you'll see 26 paved parking spaces, a loading zone. And then this area here, labeled as number 5, is where the off-beach concession vehicle parking area currently transpires. And if you've driven by there, you'll see that it looks a little bit haphazard, so this development would definitely clean up the area. And the entire area, the entire site, at least the BNY properties, would be fully landscaped as well. So it will be a tremendous improvement to the area. This is the public access easement that would be granted, more or less. And then this is the utility easement that would be granted to the city. You may have seen in the staff report, the city does have sewer lines in the area, and that's the reason why the utility easement would be granted to the city. And just as a reminder, all these easements would be maintained by the property owner. So the public access easement that you just saw, that would be the responsibility of the property owner to maintain in perpetuity. So with that said, staff is recommending approval. If there's any questions for me, I'll be happy to take those. And I know there's a team of 2 here tonight in support of the applicant.
I'll start out. I have a few questions, and then we'll go along and see if anyone else does. First of all, who owns those vehicles that are there to beach concession?
They're beach concessionaires, so it's not owned by the property owner.
Okay, but he allows them to park there?
Yes, that's my understanding.
Do they pay rent to park there?
I do not know.
First of all, the city manager and I went there the other day to look around, and I'm quite ashamed of the way that this owner keeps this property. I mean, we get complaints about the north side of Daytona Beach Shores, and I can see one of the reasons why. I understand it's vacant, but he still has a responsibility to the shores to maintain that. I was very embarrassed when I walked around there. So to your point, once this gets done, but for the benefit of the other people on the dais, can you go back to the history of this place, how long it was vacant? And then my understanding, it was a gift shop for about a day and a half, and they had a fire. So if you can go back and refresh our memory on that, please.
So some of you may remember that this used to be a gift shop way back in the days, and I believe there was a fire in 2015 or 16, and since that fire, it has not been reopened. That's basically
Was there something though that it closed and reopened and then had a fire? I mean, I lived in the city at that time, and that's what I recollect, that merchandise was brought in, and okay.
Yes, my recollection is that it was opened, then it closed, and then it reopened, and then there was a fire. Yes, and then it was closed again.
Okay, and how long has it been vacant?
Since, like I said, since 2015 or 16, I believe, was when the fire transpired, and it hasn't been reopened since.
Okay. Is the applicant here today?
The applicant is not here, to my knowledge, but I do know that there are 2 agents of the applicant.
I'd like some explanation why it's been vacant for 7 or 8 years. Anyone? Thank you. You can introduce yourself, please.
Matthew Dowse with Mark Dowse and Associates. To my knowledge, Ms. Morelli, he's part owner in this project, he brought to my attention that the reason why, like, a gift shop needs a certain amount of square footage to make the gift shop work. And so when he reopened, I don't know the timing of the fire or whatnot, but just the business platform would not be sufficient enough for him to stay open. So he reached out to us. He said, what can we do with our property? We worked with staff. We worked with a team of Cobb Cole. And we were trying to make this site the best conforming we can do. And so when vacating that site, it gave us the buildable footprint that could make his gift shop work. And that's what we proceeded with. So I believe that's the reason why he was not able to get people in there. It's a small area to be redeveloped, put all that money into the existing structure would make it difficult for a gift shop to operate.
Okay, but he operated a gift shop prior to 2016 there, right?
I believe so. I was not on the team at
So
that
it worked at that time.
It worked, but I don't know if it was efficient. I mean, if you see all these gift shops, it's as much as they could pack in, and they have to make sure they sell. So I don't run gift shops, but I've been told, and based on all the gift shops we've done in Ormond, Daytona, and so forth, they're much larger footprint than that gift shop was.
And his intent then is to open up another gift shop in a larger footprint, is that correct?
That is correct. We essentially doubled the size of the footprint. When we vacated the street, it allowed the site to be conforming so we can meet the LDC requirements. We also worked with Jody, who's to the south. They had a lot line, which was not going before you. There was already a lot line adjustment that took place. That lot line squared the parcel, so it actually made Jody's parcel more conforming and this parcel more conforming. So that was another step. So we worked with staff. It was kind of a puzzle to put together, and we feel that we worked with staff the best we can to come up with a great solution.
So I'm sure he's done some marketing studies to see, we have quite a few gift shops right now in Daytona Beach Shores, hoping that we can support another one. So one of my main concerns why I'm asking you these questions about it being vacant is I don't want to do all of this and end up with another vacant property that he does not take care of.
Well, on that note, if it wasn't a gift shop that was going to happen there, this does maximize the potential for another use to come in place. But at this time, that is his business. That's what he knows, and I have to go with his representation on what the best product could go there. And the gift shops are all over the place, but if you go up and down Ormond, up and down Daytona, I mean, they're everywhere. They're making money, so.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for either our community service director?
I do. Director Cruz, is the city going to be compensated for abandoning the street and vacating it to give it to this private party?
So indirectly through the dedication of the 5 public parking spaces and the easement for public access and for the utility. But so that's the return that the city would get.
But not anything monetary?
No.
And let me throw this out for everyone. I wouldn't mind, because I agree with you, it's unsighted, it looks blighted. However, in exchange for doing that, if the city does this, I think that the owner of the property, one, should landscape with trees, not just grass, so that way it precludes parking those beach concessions or any other large vehicles, especially during special events like trailers and stuff like that. Number 2, they should have adequate lighting, both at the 5 spaces on Bodifer as well as the 26 spaces in the back for safety and aesthetics. What's the future, this 26 spaces is said about development? Is that because of the 2 buildings that are in the front on A1A?
Correct. That's a code requirement. They need to
Okay.
have the 26 parking
Okay,
spaces to
all
meet
right.
the code.
All right.
Anything else, Vice Mayor?
No.
Okay, any other comments?
I just have a question, clerk. I understand that the Frail Street will actually be between all the parking spaces, so we'll still be able to drive north and south on that little.
So the frail
Oh,
street
frail.
between the properties will disappear, and what they will do is they will give us an access easement through the parking lot.
Is it going to be any wider than it is now?
No.
Or the
No,
same
it's
width?
gonna be less.
It won't be less?
It's just gonna
It's
kinda
less.
Okay, 'cause
It's gonna
that-
be 20 feet,
Okay,
and that's what the right-of-way is right now. Frail
Okay.
Street is.
thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, is there any comments from anyone in the audience this evening on this property at 20 on Frell Street Alley? Cal, do you have something for us as well?
Good evening, Jessica Gao, Calco Law Firm, 149 South Ridge Avenue, Daytona Beach, Florida. I first want to just say a note to the commission. I started this morning in Tallahassee and Volusia Days, and the FDEP secretary made a note to the Volusia delegation that Daytona Beach Shores is amazing to work with, and they really enjoyed that relationship. So I wanted to pass that on to
Thank
you
you.
guys from this morning. For this site, Stuart covered it so well, so overall, I just wanted to note and clarify that we'll take on the maintenance responsibility. The actual function of the access would not change. And I do think that staff had the same approach to the site, that they want to make sure those performance guarantees are in place so that this vacation doesn't have an effect at all unless all of this redevelopment occurs. So the landscaping, the removal of the concession vehicles, which would not return to the site, that would be sodded. And we will also connect the sidewalk along Bottom, so you'll have that interconnected sidewalk, not only to the 5 spaces we're proposing, but also the 20 spaces in the rear, to just help with pedestrian flow, and of course, that increased landscaping.
Thank you. And Stuart, the vice mayor asked you a question about would we be compensated, and I guess I want to ask on the other way. This would not be any cost to the city whatsoever.
No.
Great. You know, again, I was disappointed when I went down there and saw that, but I do think that, you know, when this comes, this will really help to look at the north side. So, motion please to accept 2024-02.
Also move.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second it, but I'd like to make sure that Stuart and the city staff is going to incorporate that landscaping and the lighting to enhance the quality of that area much more than what it is now. As long as we have those, and as long as we have those concessions or those understandings, then I'm going forward to second it.
Okay, and just so you know, Vice Mayor, you know, those are things that would be covered during the site plan process and our requirements of the city code at any rate. So, you know, we should have it covered at that stage whenever we get there.
Okay, well then I'm comfortable with my second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Pledis?
Yes.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaminsky?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. Okay, next we are going to go on to ordinance 2024-04, LLC agreement at 3411 South Atlantic. Attorney Waters, can you read that one for us, please?
Certainly, Madam Mayor. This is item number 9B, ordinance 2024-04. An ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Florida, relating to approval of a development agreement pertaining to property owned by Daytona Beach Shores LLC in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 15 of the Land Development Code and the Florida Local Government Development Agreement Act as set forth in sections 163.3220 through 163.3243 Florida statutes, providing for implementing administrative actions, providing for conflicts, providing for a savings provision, and the effect of the ordinance, providing for severability, providing for codification, as well as the correction of Scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. So ordinance 2024-04, as the city attorney just read, is a development agreement for the property located at 3411 South Link Avenue. And the development proposed for that site is known as Serena by the Shores. The owner applicant of this development agreement is actually Daytona Beach Shores LLC. However, the contract buyer developer is Valor Capital Real Estate Development. The proposal is for an 86-unit, 18-story multifamily residential condominium in which 16 of the stories or the floors would actually be the residential units, whereas the 2 below would be the parking podium along with other amenities. Property, you'll see up here, I divided the property size into 2. The property is 200 by 226 with an upland acreage of just over an acre, but there's also a beach acreage that's included as well, 0.39 of an acre, and I'll explain that in a minute. I know this looks a little bit noisy, so please bear with me. In addition to what I just mentioned, there are accessory uses that are permitted for this particular development that are incidental to multifamily residential usage. However, there's also additional public benefits that are being proposed as accessory uses in support of the development agreement. And those include retail uses, a restaurant or a public food establishment, and also a beach club accessory use as well. The density that is being proposed in the development agreement would be measured from the mean high water mark. Generally, whenever we measure density, it's measured up to the seawall, from the seawall basically to the road. In this case, instead of measuring from the seawall, we would measure it from the mean high water mark. And so what that would in effect do is, instead of providing only 63 units on the site, which would be the case if we were measuring traditionally from the seawall to the road, it would also provide for an additional 23 units, now that we would be measuring from the mean high water mark to the road. So that additional 0.398 acres that I just mentioned is the reason why I install that in the presentation, to show that there would be additional units granted. In addition to that, the time period that would be associated with this development agreement would be 3 years to essentially get the building permit and also pay for the fees that are associated with that, and then 7 years to receive a CO. 7 years may seem like a lot, but to be honest, development of this nature can take anywhere from 2 to 3 years for construction. The permitting process can take almost a year, and then obviously you want to build in some buffer as well, and that's how we came up with 7 years. It would also be a 12-month period to open the public food establishment, which would be the restaurant essentially. So there are 10 deviations, from the land development code that are being proposed. You may have seen in the staff report and in the documents that originally was 11, but since this agenda packet was published, I received a communique from the applicant side, which basically says the public beach access component is basically going to meet code. In other words, instead of building a public beach access, what they'll do is they'll provide money in kind or in lieu of building the public beach access, and that's a code requirement that we have at any rate. So they would be meeting the code in that regard. The development agreement also provides for staff to make modifications up to 10% of the requirements. However, this excludes density and building height and other things that are governed by the comprehensive plan. Other things that are note is that any substantial compliance changes would require city commission approval, and of course, if this is approved, there will be a site plan that will go before the Planning and Zoning Board and also the city commission for final approval, and that will include the details, the many details that you typically see with a site plan project. So I did mention that there are 10 deviations that are being requested, and I'm not going to go through these in detail, but I just wanted to let the public know and let the commission know that they range anywhere from loading zone to the breezeway visual corridor to the north-south building width, lot cover, green area, side yard setback, parking spaces, perimeter landscape buffer, and also front yard buffer. And the reason why some of these deviations are being proposed is because of the concept that has been put on paper. This particular development, as you'll see in a minute, contains a podium, a parking garage, and instead of building your traditional square or rectangular building, they've taken into consideration viewpoints of the neighbors to the north and to the east. And so it creates a situation in which you have a parking podium that looks like a box, a rectangular box, but then the core of the building has a very interesting shape in order to preserve as much as possible the viewpoints of the neighbor to the east and to the south. I'm sorry, the neighbor to the north and to the south. So this is an aerial view of the location. The property is located 2 lots north of Dunlawton Boulevard on the west side of South Atlantic Avenue, and it's in between Days Inn to the north and the Towers 10 condo to the south, just across from the Pirates Island Golf Club and Burger King. This is a street view of the site, and this is a concept plan or a site plan, if you will, of the site. And what I did here was I put a little bit of color to show the building core. So the gray area that you see in this rectangular-like box is the parking garage or the podium for the parking, and then on top is the building core. So you'll see that there's different setbacks for the core of the building and for the actual parking garage. And the reason why the building is shaped this way, as I mentioned earlier, was to kind of preserves the viewpoint for the neighbors to the north and to the south. There are 2 driveway access points onto the site, and that's what's demarcated with these red lines here. This is a rendering of the street view from South Atlantic Avenue, and this is the rendering again, concept design from the beach side. So this particular application was heard before the Planning and Zoning Board on December 11th of last year, and the recommendation was one of approval for the planning and development components of the application. I specifically say planning and development components because at the time there was a alternative tax relief component as well, in which the applicant was asking for a financial contribution of sorts from the city. The Economic Development Agency also reviewed this particular project and application on February 1st. And the recommendation, similarly to the Planning and Zoning Board, and I believe in furtherance of the Planning and Zoning Board, was to recommend approval of the plan and development components of the agreement contingent upon addressing the public beach access requirement. And as I mentioned earlier, this has since been addressed in the development agreement. Additionally, the Economic Development Agency recommended denial of the alternative tax relief request. And as I mentioned, that has also been removed from the development agreement. So with that said, staff is recommending approval. I do want to remind the commission that this is a legislative act. And so, regardless of what staff says, regardless of what the developer says, the commission should make a decision based on the public interests and the best interest of the city with regards to this particular application. I do want to conclude by saying that there were several letters that we received in terms of community input. Some were for approval of the project, and some were against the application as well. In terms of the due public notice requirements for this hearing to take place, those have been met, and you may recall this was a continued meeting as well from January. If there's any questions for me, I'll be happy to take those, and I believe the applicant, the proponent, they have a presentation as well.
Okay, so a couple things, and we can go over, we'll let everybody speak. I want to make sure that I have public participation in here to know about this. So, I just want to go on my feeling a little bit. When I first saw this and there was 10 deviations, I was frankly very, very concerned. Thinking back to the most recent properties that we had in the shores, would that be the Max and the Aruba? Were those the last two?
Aruba, and then also the Live condo was recently
Okay,
came before the commission as
and
well.
of those, how many of them asked for deviations?
So technically, none of them applied for deviations, but the max did apply for one variance. And there is a difference between the two, and I don't want to get into legalese, but essentially the effect is the same.
Okay.
So the max Daytona did apply and get one variance.
So I was very, very hesitant about this. The way, I think my obligation to the residents and the city is that, A, I talk to the residents that are going to be greatly affected, and that's mostly Towers 10 condo. They're the ones that are going to be there about the view. And then my second responsibility is a fiscal one to the city. So when they even spoke about ATR, that was off the board for me. And then when we talked about the public access too, again, the max, no one else did not compensate us for public access. So I'm very, very happy to hear that that's off the table as well. So what I am very, very impressed about, the city manager and I went to an HOA meeting, was that the end of January or January? We went there and we probably had maybe 40 to 50 residents there. So naturally I want to know what the input is from our residents. And I can say everyone there was very, very impressed. From what I understand, for you, those of you that aren't familiar with this project, they started out with this, and based on the input of Towers 10, they said, this, and they went back and forth. So the concern that they had for the residents there impressed me very much. And that's where some of these deviations came from. So again, number one priority, how do the residents in that surrounding area feel about it? And we're going to hear from them tonight. And then the second thing is the fiscal responsibility that we all have to the city, that we're not going to give anything away. So, that's all I have to say on that right now. One other thing, Stuart, can you answer this for me or someone else? Have they officially purchased this from, is it Westgate?
My understanding is that it's still in the contract. I don't know, I haven't seen the contract, but
It's not closed.
It's not closed yet, okay. And then, again, the chief and city manager and I rode up and down the beach like we try to do every 2 weeks, and that property is just eaten away. I mean, I have serious concerns about it. We're doing notices of violations to properties that have not put up their seawall, because frankly, that's not being a very good citizen to someone in the north and the south that have their seawall. If another hurricane comes again and they've spent millions of dollars, and because you don't have any protection. So that's number one of my priorities. I'd like to see that seawall.
And Joe Hopkins, who is the engineer of record for this project, he can definitely speak to that, but it's my understanding that they're making progress with the application of the DEP for the seawall.
All right. So let's see what else anyone else up on the dais before we ask for some resident input. Anyone else?
Please. Thank you, Madam Mayor. We're stewards of the community for, like you said, fiscal, but also for growth. In my opinion, looking at the quality, being interviewed and speaking to the representatives, and also I've heard information about the other communities they've developed in. This is probably the best project, the highest and best use for this property. Then you go into ethics, morality, concerns for the community they're coming in, to take into consideration the neighbors and design something. Listen, the 10 deviations they're asking for are not to make more money, to enhance aesthetics, to make it more attractive, to make it consistent with some of the concerns of some of the other members of the community. I know, listen, I don't want to sound like a jerk, but I've been to Miami, I've been to Boca, I've been to Europe, South America, and I've seen beautiful buildings, condos, and I drive up and down A1A all the way from Ormond, all the way down to Ponce, and they all look cookie cutter to me. This one's got style, it's got aesthetics, and I think what'll happen, it will attract and enhance the quality of the area, but also attract a different demographic, a different type of citizen. I really like it. And then I remember in the meeting when you gentlemen and representatives made a presentation, just the aesthetics inside the units and the pool club and the restaurant bakery, everything was taken into consideration, not only to enhance their product, but also to enhance the community. So I know that there are people out there that are concerned, but here's what we do as a legislative body. We receive people who want to develop, and sometimes staff does a great job of filtering out the haves from the have-nots. Well, we got the haves here, and I'm here to say that this is a quality project that I hope some people that have concerns alleviate those concerns, because you've got a good city staff. They'll make sure the landscaping is nice, the aesthetics are nice, and that everything is consistent with harmony. You got to trust your city government, and they do a really good job, because if you look around, you don't see anything ugly. You drive up and down A1A, and it's a beautiful place, and I think that this particular project will enhance the quality of that beauty.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Commissioner Economist?
I agree with the Vice Mayor. I too had an opportunity to meet with the folks at Valor Capital, and I was very impressed, not only with the concept, but their complex that they built in St. Petersburg was absolutely beautiful. But the fact, again, that you mentioned they worked with their neighbors so much to accommodate them and to come up with this beautiful building. And coming on the heels of the two hurricanes, you know, we want growth, but we want the right growth. But based on everything, now the ATR was a no-go, and I think that's why it was removed. I'm glad that was done. But again, I was very impressed with the presentation, with everybody involved, and with the future plans and with what they have done in the past. So I think this is the right growth, and I'm looking forward to it.
Great, thank you. And on record, we do not have an ATR, but.
Correct. Madam Mayor, I apologize. I believe, you guys still want to present? Yeah.
Okay, can we finish here and then they come up? Okay. You- some-
No, I don't think so. I did receive an email from Towers 10 president, and they're happy. They feel that it's going to be a great addition beside them, so I do think that's going to be a beautiful project.
Okay, and we will have someone from there. Commissioner Dominski?
Yeah, I just have a couple of things, Stuart. I forget how many years ago it was, but we identified X amount of lots that could have higher building limits. And I believe this is one of the large lots that they could build an 18-story building. I don't remember how many stories, but I know it was higher than 12. Am I correct?
Yes, this property was identified as a large lot B, I believe.
Okay, so if they had wanted to, they could have put an 18-story square building there.
Correct.
With no deviations. If they
I'm sorry, what?
With no deviations if
Right.
they weren't approved.
So these deviations, as everybody else has said, they're for the benefit of the neighbors more than anything. I mean, I'm sure they wanted to build a beautiful building, which it is, but they had the right to build an 18-story building. Am I correct?
That is correct, providing they met the code.
Right. Okay, thank you.
All right, so let us hear from you. Hello, Attorney Merrill.
Hello, Mayor, Commission, Rob Merrill with Cobb Cole, 149 South Ridgewood. Thanks for all your comments to start things. I like things to start that way. I'm not going to say a whole lot. I've got a nice presentation that the Valor folks are going to give you. I do always like to make sure I emphasize and say, this guy does a great job. He's one of the best in the business. You have a professional here that is giving you good advice. The manager, same thing. I know you guys have had a lot of conversation with him. We've been doing this for almost 2 years now, working with the staff, working with the neighbors, and redesigning and retooling, and this has been a back and forth that's going on for a long time. So you guys are right here. We're right here at the pinnacle And we're happy to be here. I'm happy to be here representing these folks. I hope you'll welcome these guys as a new corporate citizen to Daytona Beach Shores and Volusia County. I'm excited about them. I've seen things that they've done around the world, literally, that you're going to hear about. And like you said, these are the kind of folks we want here. So I'm happy to be here with them. Stuart did mention, the planning board recommended approval for us. I know you guys take that very seriously. Although we were involved in the economic development board, we heard the messages that they gave us, and we responded as to both of the things that they felt we shouldn't be doing. So we saw those changes, and I'll say for the record that we made the changes that Stuart has reflected. We've got a letter from Team Volusia. I think Keith Norden wrote a letter, so I think you guys give a lot of credibility to that as well. I know we've had a letter from the president of the Towers 10 condo, who we've been working with now for quite some time. And I think others are here that may speak or at least acknowledge that they're in support of the project. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Darius and Mauricio to kind of work you through some, I think, pretty pictures and some video.
For the record, Darius Wilher, Deputy CEO of Valor Capital, and Mauricio Land, Executive Development Manager. First off, Madam Mayor, Commissioners, City staff, and citizens of Daytona Beach Shores, thank you for giving us a minute to talk about this project. We did do an extensive presentation at the Planning and Zoning Board, so we have been asked to shorten it. So we're going to do our best to get through this really rapidly. First of all, thank you everyone for coming. Valor Capital is an international development company. We currently have over 2 million square feet and 2,500 units in development. We know how to do and build and sell luxury. And the reason I make this point is simply because when we start, we finish. And we have seen the problems that are created by developers that start and don't finish, and that is not who we are. And what we call finishing is not completing the building and leaving. It is continuing through the punch list, through getting all the new residents settled, handling any issues so they are there and happy, and it is functioning as a living machine, as buildings of this nature actually are. We had a recent project in Clearwater called Serena by the Sea, which was very successful, and we still extend anyone who is interested to see the nature of our projects to please come visit and see what we do, because more than words, actions and products speak for themselves. So that is an excellent physical thing that people can go and see that we do stand by what we say. And Mauricio, if you could talk a little bit about some of our differentiators.
Hi, I am Mauricio Lan. Sorry about my English. I will try to be as clear as possible. I'm very passionate about it. Those who know me, I can spend hours talking about the project. We've been working with this project more than 1.5 years, and we've been very close to staff on each step. Our first step was, do you want us here? Do you want us to be here? And they were very welcoming, and with your words, I think you got really the essence of what we are looking for. And really each development, it is a partnership, even if we don't see it, because the development becomes part of the city. And if we make synergies, we have the same exact objectives everyone. So I think it's a great product to start. So we're very design-oriented, design-centered, and that's not only the aesthetics of it or having a nice object. It's to really understand like the vision of the city, where is the environment, what's the options and the possibilities that you have here, and how to enhance it, and how to bring it to the next level. So if you see our track record, each of our projects has become an icon and a reference, but not because we got in there and we landed in there, because we understood the things that the vision of the city, and we enhanced that vision. So that's very important for us, and that really that value and that type of product that we do, that it's real luxury. It's amazing, because it's not. If it wasn't like that, you will put as much as you can, as much density, as much whatever, only to have more profit. And when it's this kind of luxury, you have to enhance the experience, and the experience is for the one who lives, for the one who tells the other where he lives, for the one who passes by. It really becomes a reference. So we take that as design. Those are different projects. This is the newest one we did in Clearwater. Those are the interiors. So that's what we want to create, right? Real experiences and great projects. I would like to just talk a little bit of our core mission, because as a company, it's to create world-class real estate developments, which are a continuous source of value to its clients, owners, investors, and the community. Because for a developer, the most important thing is their name, right? That's what we have, and for every person really, but whenever you get to something, that's what you have. So you have to create that source of value and a continuous source of value. If we create something and we leave, it's the last time that we do business. So really, that continuous source of value to the community and to all the players is what have brought us success over the years.
Another thing that's very important for us is who we work with. One of our core principles is that whenever we engage in a new project, we work with the best. We find the people who understand the area the best, who are best able to sort of bring out the design and all the components of the project. So even on this case, for example, we have Cobb Cole. They understand the city. They've been here for a long time. They understand what should be done and what shouldn't be done. Just as many times as they have told us, you should do this, they've also said, don't do this, so that we understand how to work in partnership with the city. We also have the performance group. Everybody knows Joe. And, if you want to get something that works and is built right and can work in the context of what it is, he is the guy to kind of lead you there and not come in with assumptions that we know how to do this, or, some people in the development world can be very arrogant, and we do try to be humble about what we're doing and to bring the best with us. We also have, GVI, Gomez Vasquez, who will speak here in a minute. They are a world-class design firm. Their products speak for themselves, but again, they specialize in resort and oceanfront stuff. We're not bringing on an architect who doesn't understand the challenges and the context of a waterfront environment. And of course, another huge component of that is actually understanding the challenges of the east coast of Florida and what it means to build here and how to get it built. And for that, we have ODP. They are a spectacular firm. They're doing some of the most impressive projects in Miami and across Florida. So that is part of our core thing. But our first partner was always the city and the community. We came and we said, do you want us here? How can we work together? And to that light, that is the reason we are here, because we have worked in plenty of other areas. The reception that we got from staff, and again, the staff was able to tell us what can be done and what can't be done. And that is very important for us. So really, on behalf of the entirety of Valor Capital, we thank the city and the staff for helping us make this process. It's been 1.5 to 2 years, but these things can take 10 years if you don't have the correct input. So we very much appreciate that partnership. And from everyone in the community, it's been ridiculous how friendly the community by and large has been. Even just the mini golf course across the street, when we sit down and meet with them and we show them this and they're super excited, they're like, here's some free tickets, go play some golf. We're like, where are we? Because I don't see any mouse with ears around here. So it's that sense of community, because again, as I've stated before, we like bringing great people to great places. And this is clearly a great place. We thank you for your partnership. I would like to invite GVI up to speak a bit on the project, because I think that's kind of one of the most important components. And
sure. Please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Afternoon. Marco Sanchez Castro, Design Director with GVI Architects. I understand that I've been given the challenge to explain the project in 2 minutes. This is the project that we've been working for 2 years now, so I'll try my best. Very glad to hear the feedback and very excited to be working in this project. So we're the design architects working on this project along with ODP architects, or with the local architects. And together we're putting together this project forward. I won't explain much about the background of the firm, but we are a 50-plus years of experience, architectural design practice, based in the Americas, in the Caribbean, in Europe. And as Darius mentioned briefly a minute ago, some of our most important projects probably are hospitality projects with beach fronts. Like these ones, like large resorts at the Caribbean, at the Pacific Ocean, the Riviera Maya, or high-end hotels in Panama, for instance. This is a luxury collection in Panama City. Or smaller residential, high-end residential projects, in this case in Panama as well. So we have experience working on these type of projects. We have experience working with Valor Capital also on more recent projects like this one. This is Serena by the Sea, so the gondolas in clear water. So we have a track record of projects of this nature, and this is our expertise, really. We really love working on projects like this. So I'll try my best to explain the concept in 1 minute now. I understand that the project is very well known. We have had the chance to talk to the members of the community, and we have received really good feedback from them, which is very, very useful for us, very interesting to know that. So I won't be explaining in detail what the conditions of the site are. We all know the context, the great views to the beach, but also to the Halifax River on the west side, and having Towers 10 on the south, and the Basin Hotel on the north. So I think the two main design principles when we started working on this project was, how can we design a project that is really a good contribution to the community and to the city? It is a contemporary residential building that is going to provoke positive things in the city on one side, but also how do we respond to the context, to the condition, to the neighbors, and to the dynamics of the city. This is the precedent project that we were given when we started the project. We were aware of this, and we could see the big benefits from the real estate sort of standpoint on doing something like this, but we very quickly understood that this was not the right thing to do. So going back to design principle number 2, so the question was, how do we engage with the neighboring buildings, and how do we create a piece of city that really sort of contributes to the dynamics of the city? So after a number of iterations and meetings with the community, the neighbors, with the city as well, and all the feedback that we got, this was the conclusion of the massing for the building. It was explained briefly a minute ago. So in the end, what we did was just to push the tower forward to the avenue in order to create a void on the east end of the plot, in order to create oblique views from the neighbors, but also to create a connection between the beach and the avenue, having these gaps between the buildings. This is something that you don't see on South Atlantic Avenue too much. So in the end, what we had to do was to sacrifice like 40% of the massing in order to create these oblique views. And of course, in the end, we do have the views that we wanted to the beach and to the river, but also I think that the neighbors also have the benefit of having these sort of open spaces between the towers, which I think was important for us. So we created these views from the street looking to the beach, which is very uncommon, I think, on South Atlantic Avenue. And we are very proud to be able to do something like that. It's a quick 3D model, like a physical model of the building in context. And you can see how the building pulls away from the neighbors in order to create this view on the sides of the neighboring properties, the view from the back. And going back to design principle number 1, the question was, how do we create a space that has active frontages, and then you can understand as a lively part of the city? So what we did was to create this additional program and these new uses to the ground floor that are accessible to the public. Like, for instance, the bakery that is merged to the main lobby of the building. That's going to open most of the day. But also a restaurant, a beach club that also is going to be accessible to the public. So that what creates is not only a piece of real estate, but also a piece of the city that everybody can use. This was the concept for the main lobby, sort of a sense of arrival, and the visual connection to the beach at the moment you enter the building. So this feels more like a hospitality project rather than an apartment building, right? It feels more like a hotel in a way. And these are some visuals of the facades. The parking podium above the common areas, that's the ground floor, and then the residential levels on top of that.
And one part that it was very important for us is to create this interaction with the city, because for us, that interaction, usually a condo, it's on the contrary, to protect themselves and to conquer a place. We wanted to create, like, to enrich the community and the city, because it becomes, first, whatever you want to live or have a place somebody else, you first buy the city, then you buy the condo. So it was very important to create this kind of interaction, and that's why we enhance it with a restaurant, bakery component, and that public thing that we really think that will enhance this product and all of the surrounding. That's what we call urban acupuncture, because you put like a pin and really it creates effects in all over the place. And for us, we have done this a lot of times. For any developer, this would be like a risky thing because there's nothing like this, or it's gonna be the first. It's not the first for us, so it's gonna be an amazing product. But you will see how after this, you will create a lot of interesting effects, and I don't think that it will raise the bar. So this is part of the concept design and how it's gonna be. And that's it, like even if you're in the beach and you see how the skyline is gonna be affected, you're still a user of the building. So it's very important for us all around seeing as an holistic building.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Danny Fatal. I'm principal at ODP Architects. We have the privilege and the honor to be able to work with GVI as the design architect and Valor with their project themselves. We've been around about 18 years, and we have a very good amount of projects and product types that we've been fortunate enough to be part of in South Florida. So we bring the constructability, the feasibility to the team itself, and we have a lot of experience with working coastlines with high wind loads, flooding, along those lines. Some of the project types that we have, just as a reference, is this is all Water Street, part of the Tampa redevelopment that was done next to the Amalie Arena with SVP. And then one of the two projects that we got a lot of recognition for is 1000 Museum, which is we did with Zaha Hadid, which is a world-renowned architect, and that was a joint venture just to be able to demonstrate some of the abilities that we have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't want to go again with the project that we already know the shape of. If you have any questions, we'll answer. But the thing that it's for the concept of us is that in integrating the community, creating really it's going to be a landmark, and it's going to create a positive effect for all over the place. Like we already have conversations with the developers of the Live. Even the Live is gonna be a better project because they have more to go around. And so it's all about making synergies, about making the community, and an interesting is how really if we succeed, everyone succeeds. So a good project is good for everyone.
And again, just one last point in terms of the deviations that were mentioned. A lot of that was just in response to how do we make this work? Like, you know, that ground level entire community plaza was parking. And we went, what is the value of the parking versus giving that sort of amenity to the community? And so they were really in just a response to how do we ethically and in the best way possible make this work, pushing the building forward, all of that. So I think they did an incredible job. The last thing that I just want to briefly mention and talk about is I would like Mr. Alan Agami to step forward because he's kind of going to be our team leader here in the area. And please say
Hi,
Hello.
I'm Alan Agami. I'm going to be the development manager for the project in the Shores, and I'm very excited to be here because from the moment that I stepped foot here, when I crossed the Van Lotten Bridge, I chose this project. I had two other projects I could choose from, and I chose this one because I met the neighbors, and they were just incredibly friendly people. Every person that I've met here, they always say hi, like just outside before the meeting, and just people are very, very friendly. You guys are doing an incredible job. I'm very impressed. I've never been to a city commission meeting, and what you guys, I can see the care and enthusiasm with which you, and the meticulousness with which you go through every project. The fact that you have buried all the utilities, that shows a lot of care for the city. Another point that I wanted to say is that a very important part is the community, right? And I've met with the chambers, and they're incredible. I went to an event, I think it's called Business After Hours, and it's just very awesome to be part of that. And we're very like we believe in the Shores, we really do, and we believe that life is better here, and we want to contribute to that. So that's why we're here.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
all right. And in conclusion, I know we almost hit the 5-minute mark. Yes, so in closing, one thing that I have said is that every development, anybody who's worked in development or real estate knows that a development has impact. And the question you have to ask is the positive benefit, does it outweigh the stress that any sort of creation or building causes? And I truly believe, and I've said it from the beginning, the positive impacts of this far outweigh what it's going to be. We know when the building goes up that I'm going to be bringing donuts and everything to the neighbors next door every week to lower the stress level of what it's going to be going skyward. But we also know that our internal construction team is challenged that once we break ground, you have to top out and close off as fast as possible so that we reduce those stress things. So we know we've met with the neighbors. We understand the challenges from both sides. We understand our opponents and the points that they have. And we've already challenged our teams to consider their points and to look for solutions. Because again, we're not coming here to be arrogant. We're trying to build the best partnerships we can. And even we hope that in the closing of this that Mauricio is going to present, that some of people will start to be able to visualize the potentialities of the positive benefits of this project. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Madam Mayor, can I say one more thing?
Yes.
Earlier, I misspoke. I talked about your beautiful community on the West Coast, and I said St. Petersburg, and it's Clearwater, so I apologize. But one of the things that impressed me about that, and I'm not going to say who, but one of your team actually lives there. So that impressed me that, you know, this is not just something that's going to go up and you're going to leave. So that actually impressed me a lot. So forgive me for saying St. Pete instead of Clearwater.
Well, we are building in St. Pete too.
I wanted to finish this with some presentation that were in the works, so I hope you enjoy it.
So, I don't know, it was kind of nuanced. I hope you guys saw the branding that was here. I mean, I'm a pickup truck and motorcycle guy, but when you see that kind of luxury brand being associated with a company like this, it says something. So I hope you guys are receiving that message well. We've got a whole team here, working with Joe Hopkins, Jessica Gow, the brains of our operation, to answer any questions you guys have. And we want to, of course, reserve the opportunity to respond to any questions or comments that come from the public. So.
Thank you. Again, I can see by that last video that you did your due diligence to see what Daytona and Daytona Beach Shores are all about. And when I saw the Lamborghini, all I really thought of, have any of you ever attended the Rolex? Oh, wow, well, okay, so, what an event.
Connection.
Yes, right, exactly. I had a couple questions for Joe, but I know there's people that want to talk about the project. So if, well, first of all, I have somebody that did fill out a form, but I'm going to open this up to anyone that wants to talk about the project. So is it Tricia? Tricia? If you'd like to come forward and give us your name and number, and then I know there's some other people.
Hi there. I'm Tricia Townsville at 3357 South Atlantic Avenue. We're with the,
Can you guys hear okay?
can you hear me?
No. Closer to you.
With the Days in Tropical Seas. We're the other neighbor.
Yes.
We realize that we're not the biggest, the brightest, the prettiest, or the shiniest property on A1A. We're a small family business. And we've been part of this community since 1996. Unfortunately, we feel as though we've been disregarded throughout this whole process. And we just ask that you consider our concerns and needs, all related to our ongoing business, when making your decision. The first time we heard about this proposed project was through a cold notification letter dated 11/17/23. At the planning and zoning meeting, the developers emphasized the fact that they went back to the drawing board to appease the wishes of the neighbors to our south 5 times over a period of 1 year. I think it's important to note that before the Cobb Cole letter, we heard nothing from Valor Capital. If Cobb Cole could reach us, I'm just not sure why Valor couldn't or didn't. One of our primary issues is with the 38-foot-high solid wall to be erected 15 feet from our property. This wall will exceed the 5th floor of our 7th-floor building. It will be less than 30 feet from our south-facing guest room balconies. These rooms feature large glass sliders that provide the room's only natural light. This wall will effectively diminish these rooms' views, sunlight, as well as their marketability. It'll cause us to put those rooms in our next lowest room rate category, and unfortunately, it will ultimately result in a major hit to our bottom line. When I drive down A1A from Ponce Inlet to Daytona, I tried to find a property that was built after 2007, where a developer has designed a project that blocks the neighboring balconies, and I couldn't find any. We should thank the city, the developers, and their architects. I think it's something to be proud of, and I just hope our business won't be the first casualty because we strayed from this cooperative development agreement or tradition. Valor is asking for 10 deviances. Sorry, Stuart. 9 of which we feel will have a direct negative impact on our business. All this in exchange for quite possibly a mere, what the development agreement now states is 1,500 minimum square feet of public space or public benefit space. And it appears to us that they're stuffing 20 pounds of luxury amenities into a 5-pound parcel. My final item is a question. Sorry, can I?
That's okay, go ahead and finish your last one.
It's a question, and it's in regards to a letter that I submitted to to Stuart on December 8th, and it was to be included in the planning board member packets for the December 11th meeting. It was recently brought to my attention that this letter was not provided to the planning board members. And I just need to ask the question and verify that due process was served and that each presiding member of the planning board had the opportunity to review our letter prior to their vote.
Thank you, Tricia.
Thank you.
I'd ask that you get with Stuart after this meeting, and then anyone from Valor. So I do not, Ed, did you want to come up?
May I, please?
Yeah, certainly, and then I had a couple other people here again, just.
Oh, I'm sorry, did some other people?
They didn't have their name, they just told me they wanted to talk, and we will get to anyone.
I want to say, we can have the time showing.
Okay.
I'm going to talk very fast.
Great, thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. First of all, thank you very much for the due diligence that you guys have put in. Obviously, you've all met with the developer, and a lot of questions have been answered. I hope, I'm sorry, Ed Offerman, 3311 South Atlantic. I'm another neighbor that hasn't been talked to yet either from the north. This is the first I've heard of the project here, and Mayor, you know I usually attend commission meetings, but I've had other engagements that I'm not able to attend, half of them now. But I had 3 concerns, and none of them I think are major, and I hope someone on the commission would take the opportunity to get with the developer and maybe address some of these concerns. First of all, Madam Mayor, one of your favorite subjects is one of my concerns as well, and that's a restaurant. I noticed there's a restaurant planned for the building, and one of your concerns has always been the hours. We have enough breakfast and lunch places. I've heard you say that many times. Would the restaurant be a franchise? Would it be a standalone restaurant? Would it be a luxury restaurant? And then maybe the question was answered, I saw in one of the drawings, it might be a bakery. But, you know, would that mean like a Panera Bread or a standalone bakery? But the big thing, Mayor, your issue, would it be open at night? Because we have enough, you know, right across the street, you're also affecting the high tide, which is right across the street from their new project. The second thing I wanted to ask about was the beach access. I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, I missed the comment. You said something about the beach access. I know they're compensating the city for it, but I turned around looking to see if I saw any of the officers of the Towers 10 board here, and at that time was when you mentioned the beach access. I'm a little concerned that there is a lack of beach access, and there is no beach access with this plan. It's nice that the city is being compensated, and all of that is well and good, but we don't have beach access, and we don't have beach access and enough parking for the people that are west of South Atlantic as it is already. So I would, and if that's not the way to go, if you need to get compensation for it, I would urge that maybe in negotiations, you negotiate with the developer if there's some continuing compensation rather than a one-time payment. Because you know the beach access at my place, we had to grant the access in perpetuity where we're responsible for the ramps, we're responsible for the maintenance, we're responsible for everything. The last issue I wanted to say quickly was, do you have any idea of the price point of the units? And that was it.
Okay.
Thank you
so
very
much for coming up.
And I do not oppose the project. I just have some concerns, and especially the beach access and the bakery.
Okay, and we want to hear those. Thank you very much, Ed. Jim, do you want to come up next?
We're here. I turned around and I didn't see him here.
Is that 3 minutes worth there?
Oh, no. I'm gonna skip part because we've already discussed it. My name is Jim Draheim, and I live on the north side of Towers 10 on the 20th floor, so I overlook this vacant lot. In addition, I'm the president of the board of directors of Towers 10. And I want to let you know that the Valor Capital Group reached out to us more than a year ago to share their building plans for this lot. Shortly after they reached out to us, they made a presentation to all of our homeowners. And during this meeting, they presented that squared building that we first saw, and our homeowners had lots of questions and lots of suggestions, including They asked for food, a bakery, they even said a wine bar, a restaurant, etc. In addition, several homeowners on the north side of the building were concerned about the building blocking their view now. Well, Valor Capital did such due diligence that they actually, after the meeting, went to the 16th floor and went into the 16th floor unit owner's condo to look at the view and to see what they could do, to help with our concerns. So they listened to our concerns, and they presented a new and improved design to our homeowners earlier this year in January. And this building is what you've seen. It's redesigned. It preserves our views as much as possible. It's a more modern, contemporary design, and we feel like it will add a new sense of style, as we've all talked about, to Daytona Beach Shores, and it will also include a bakery or coffee shop and some kind of a restaurant. When we've spoken with them, and I'll answer a question about the restaurants if you don't mind, they're talking about a luxury restaurant. It's not, another franchise operation. We feel like that this development will enhance the value not only of our building, but other buildings in the shores. And we have been very impressed that the Valor Group has listened to our suggestions. Our manager and our board have also met with the group on numerous occasions to give our input. The board of directors has only heard positive comments from our homeowners, and there were 114 of us. We feel that this luxury building will only enhance our building and the city of Daytona Beach Shores, and we encourage you to support this project. And I made it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this? Yes, sir. Please state your name and address when you come up.
Jerome Galba.
Oh, wait till you come up, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, well, my voice is so loud it usually fails. My name is Jerome Galba, 3425 South Atlantic Towers 10. I wanted to say, I'm on the board also. When I first met them, they really impressed me that they cared. I've been in construction, I own a business up in Michigan. Most people, they have a project and it's all about them. Get out of my way, we're going to get this done. I have been coming to Daytona since the 70s. I would love to see this done, and it's not a cookie cutter. Westgate was going to put up a timeshare there. You want to talk about a block? It would have been a block of, nobody would have seen anything. I remember when they were pounding the ground for a couple, 2-3 days, and the building was shaking, trying to see how big of a building they could have. They have accommodated everything we want. When they talked about what would we like to see, and we said bakery. That's what they're talking about. I don't know why, maybe it has to do with me, but that's why. We can't ask for better people. They've tried to think of everything. Obviously not everybody's gonna be happy, but Towers 10, we are permanent residents. We sit there, that's my home. That's where I'm at. And I really appreciate their due diligence and all of the effort they've had to make us happy. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Okay, before we actually do vote on this, Joe Hopkins, can you come up a little, please? Again, what we went through, and Ian and Nicole, seawalls are so dear to my heart because, everything that was done. Can you tell me a little bit about the plans for a seawall there?
Yeah, we managed to come up with a design